Ole Miss plays the most unique style of play in our league, in my opinion. I think you guys, maybe Olin's the only one old enough to remember Coach Davis when he was the head coach here. Phenomenal coach, one of the best coaches in the country on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they cause a lot of problems because they're constantly changing what they do. We struggled against them last year in that regard. They have shot the ball from three in their two conference games. They're shooting 50%. They've had some injury problems that have plagued their team, but it seems like they're back going in a better direction. So we'll have our hands full, and we have a lot of prep to do over the next 36 hours in order to be ready.
So I know what you meant when you said Reed Arena became the place to be in 06, 07. Now, Billy was single and charismatic and handsome and all those things, so I thought that maybe played a little bit of a role into it. I'm kind of joking there. But
he was single, or still is, charismatic for sure. He probably spent more time in the community than I did. I'm the most boring guy ever. I'm either here at my house. Occasionally I'll go eat somewhere right as they open the doors. But, yeah, I remember it distinctly.
My question was, does it all come down to winning and winning consistently to have those crowds in there to make a difference, to make that 4 to 5 point difference in Reno?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, whatever the movie was when we were young, you know, the baseball movie with Kevin Costner. Yeah, a bunch of them. Yeah, Field of Dreams. I think when you win, it helps the support, and then it's, you know, typical marketing problem. It's the chicken or the egg, which comes first. Are you winning because of the crowds, or did you start winning and then the crowds showed up? And maybe we're trying to do things at the same time. Maybe our community can continue to have a groundswell of support, and hopefully when our students come back, we can pick up where we left off from there. I think JMO and the marketing department here has been much more committed to a plan. I think that's been a part of it. I don't sit in on all of those things like I once did early in my career, but you can see visibly signs of people not in our program trying to connect with those outside our program to help our program.
Is your team further along than you thought you would be at this point, or is it about what you expected?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. We played 8 games in November. That's more than I've ever played in November. That's the most you can play. We had the one game canceled in December, which allowed us an extra week of practice, which has never happened. I think adding the non-Division I game actually maybe ignited us faster than typical off of Christmas break. You know, we got back on the 26th and then played on the 27th and then played again on the 29th. And regardless of opponent, just the rep of preparing to play and playing and having to execute, I thought that ended up being something that wasn't planned, that was very healthy for us. I think playing your first week of conference play, one at home, one on the road, now you kind of have a feel for both. I guess because we have so many new guys, I think I said it to Travis, you know, one of the things that when I prepare for an opponent, I look at minutes continuity, like how many minutes are being played by kids that were on the team last year, and then the typical how old are the kids on your team. Like we're in the bottom 4th in both categories. I think that they're trying to do similar to what I said to Olin. I think they're trying to do what we're asking them to do. And I think they really care about one another off the floor. And I think some of that is beginning to be seen on the floor. When Javante played for the first time in 2 weeks, you saw our bench. Hassan playing the lowest minutes of his career and making 2 big free throws at the end. I think you can kind of see how much they care about one another off the floor, and I think that's coming to life on the floor.
And have you done anything in practice or talked to the team at all about just finishing and the way you guys finish games?
Yeah, we talk about everything, the good stuff, the bad stuff, win or loss, good or bad. There's always something to learn from. And to their credit and our staff's credit, I think we've all been very transparent and in limiting exaggerations and over exaggerations. What's the truth and how can we learn from it? And yeah, we call it our response. Our response has been really good.
I know it could be a long conversation, but I know at times you talked about the new analytics software that y'all were able to get.
It's big, it's huge.
How has that made some tangible impacts on your success so far this season?
I would say the first thing that it does is it makes you more aware of your team on both sides of the ball, and then it makes you much more aware of each individual on your team on both sides of the ball. I study it every day, and TJ and Lyle and Devin study it more than I do, and now Rock is on it for personnel for the opponent, because whatever you study of yourself, basically you have that same information for the opponent. And I actually think that it has allowed our prep with our players to be more succinct than ever before, because it removes a lot of, well, I think this is what it is. It's just data. And you can get lost in the data. And I've spent a lot of time with Dusty Baker as my friend, and he knows about analytics, but he's not completely sold that analytics tell the whole story. I have a kid he's not a kid, a guy that was a manager for us at Marquette that's worked in Major League Baseball in the personnel department for the last decade. And so his view on analytics is completely different than a coach. But I think it's helped in our prep for an opponent because it distills the information before you ever present it to the team. And it is a little addicting, right? Because it has it broke down like exactly what you would think. It's almost like looking at your retirement portfolio, and you're looking at all the different investments and how they're doing and what percentage you're putting in each stock. I mean, it has that 2-point jump shot percentage, basket assist rate, transition volume, like it has everything. And it's for the team, but then it's also for each individual. And so we've been cautious, Travis, about maybe how we present all of that to our team. But like some of the smart guys that are hoop junkies, like they want to know. They want to know their defensive points per possession. They want to know their offensive rebound percentage. Like if you ask Henry, hey, how many times was the ball in there when we shot it? And how many times did you get it? Like some of those guys, they want to know it. And I was a little hesitant, as I told you when this first happened. Like I was aware of the company and I knew the people, and they came and visited. In hindsight, I shouldn't have been as hesitant, because I think it's really good.
Yeah.
And I think 5 years from now, every program at this level will be doing it.
How are you and Dusty Baker friends?
That's a long story. Yeah, I just like learning, and so I knew he wouldn't know me, and so when the Reds were in town in Milwaukee, I went to the soul food place where I had a feeling he would be, and I was just kind of in the parking lot waiting to see if he would show up. He did. The place is real small. I knew the owners. They loved me for whatever reason, so I went there too often and got a little too heavy. But when I saw him, I got in line in front of him. I knew there wouldn't be any seats, and so I sat down and knew that he would have to sit with me at the table. And I never introduced myself, and I never acted like I knew who he was, and then it's just turned into, I guess that was over 10 years ago. He was at our game in the Sweet 16. He was Albert Pujols, Coach LaRussa. That was when we played in Phoenix, when they were out there in, what do you call it, in spring training. Yeah, so I've stayed in touch with him every month since then. Obviously, I've been to see him a couple of times with the Astros. Yeah, he's one of my favorite people in the world. And I don't know anything about baseball. I only know about baseball whatever coach has taught me.
When you're coaching, do you adhere always to whatever the analytics was?
No. I just study it in preparation for the opponent. But I'm aware of our players' numbers as I'm studying for Ole Miss. I'm looking at our analytics in comparison to their analytics. Not necessarily matchup based, but maybe how I could say it is leverage. Like when we play Olin, are we better on offense or worse? When we play Olin, are we better on defense or worse? And you could kind of, if you watch even Saturday, when I'm subbing guys in and out of the game, it's not exclusively based on us. Sometimes it's based on the opponent and the situation. And so, no, I think once the game starts, whatever I've prepared in my mind is pretty much how it goes, other than the instinct of the game. But it's never analytical.
If I could take it one back real quick to the bench and things like that, how were you able to sell Quentin on the idea that, hey, you're probably better for us coming off the bench? So, because so many guys wanted to start.
I've never said a word to him about it, and he's never asked. And I've done it before in my career, so maybe he's talked to some of those previous players. Maybe he's talked to our staff, but it's never been a conversation with Q and I. And I don't mean that in any sense other than it's the truth. I think that's the reason there hasn't been a word said. This is my opinion. He may say something differently. I think he trusts me, and he knows I trust him. And so his mom's never texted me and asked. Dad's never called and asked. And I think that in and of itself is very rare.